Imagine this. You step into a busy, really chaotic emergency department. High stakes, fast pace, but it's in a country totally new to you. That learning curve, it feels, well, steep is an understatement.
It really does. And the big question is always, how do you not just survive that, but actually, thrive? How do you make your mark?
Exactly. It's a huge challenge, but also a huge opportunity for many international medical graduates.
It absolutely is. And that's precisely what we're diving into today. Charting that successful career path in emergency medicine EM, as we call it specifically in the UK, for IMGs.
Our guide for this journey is Dr. Abdullah Farook's Career Pathway in Emergency Medicine in the UK, a survival guide for IMGs. And Dr. Farook's own story is, well, pretty incredible.
It really is. He's now an EM consultant, but he managed to pass all the parts of the MRCM exams in just 6 months. 6 months while working full-time.
That's phenomenal speed.
It is. And his experience spans the US, Bangladesh, the UK. So he brings this really unique global perspective to emergency care, which informs his guide.
So think of this deep dive as your kind of essential companion. We're going to pull out the practical wisdom from Dr. Farook's roadmap, shed light on the pathway, maybe uncover a few surprising facts,
And equip you with those indispensable survival tips. We really want to help you turn that aspiration of working in UKEM into a reality.
We'll look at why UKEM is attractive, the training quality, the diverse patients, even the work-life balance, which might surprise some people.
Right. It can be surprisingly humane with the right approach. This isn't just theory. It's a battle-tested guide. It's designed to help you navigate every single stage.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. The absolute foundation, according to Dr. Farook, GMC registration.
Yep. General Medical Council registration with a license to practice, non-negotiable. You simply cannot work as a doctor in the UK without it. First hurdle.
And it's not just about having a medical degree, is it? There are specific pathways, specific requirements.
Exactly. And often it's the paperwork, the bureaucracy that trips people up initially, not the clinical knowledge.
Like what specifically? What kind of unexpected things does the guide help with?
Well, things like getting your certificate of good standing sent directly from every single medical authority you've ever been registered with.
Oh, yeah.
Or, the very precise way your primary medical qualification needs to be verified, often through ECFMG's Epic service. Tiny details, but they can cause massive delays if you're not onto them early. Dr. Farook really stresses sorting this out preemptively.
So attention to detail right from the start. What are the main routes for IMGs to actually get this GMC registration?
Okay, broadly speaking, there are about 5 main ways in. The most common probably is the PLAB Route Professional and Linguistic Assessments Board. That's PLAB 1, a written exam, and PLAB 2, a practical OSCE-style exam, plus English language proof.
Right, PLAB's the one most people hear about.
Then there's the MTI, the Medical Training Initiative. This is more of a sponsored scheme, usually short-term, maybe 6 to 24 months. Crucially, PLAB isn't needed if you're sponsored by a Royal College and intend to return home afterwards.
Okay, so that's more temporary training.
Exactly. Then there's direct sponsorship, where a UK Royal College or an approved body vouches for your skills, bypassing PLAB. You also have acceptable postgraduate qualifications. If you hold certain qualifications like MRCP, MRCS, or even some overseas ones like USMLE steps within specific date limits, you might get direct registration.
So for those already somewhat specialized.
Precisely. And finally, for very experienced specialists, there's the CESR Pathway Certificate of Eligibility for Specialist Registration. This lets you get onto the specialist register directly if you can prove your overseas training is equivalent to the UK's Certificate of Completion of Training, the CCT.
Wow. Okay, so quite a few options. It's definitely not one size fits all.
Not at all. And common to almost all routes are things like having an acceptable primary medical qualification verified, proving English language proficiency, getting that certificate of good standing, and showing evidence of your internship or experience.
You mentioned English language tests. That's often a big step. OE versus IELTS, what's the difference, and why pick one over the other?
Good question. Both are accepted by the GMC. The OET, Occupational English Test, is tailored for healthcare professionals. All the material is medical. You need a grade B in all 4 parts: listening, reading, writing, speaking. Many IMGs find this, more comfortable, more relevant to their work.
Makes sense. And IELTS.
IELTS Academic is a general academic English test, not healthcare specific. For that, you need an overall score of 7.5, and crucially, no less than 7.0 in any of the four components.
So slightly different scoring structure, too.
Yes. And the key thing, whichever test you choose, and Dr. Farouk really hammers this home, you must get the required scores in a single sitting.
Ah, right. You can't combine scores from different attempts.
Exactly. And your certificate can't be more than 2 years old when you apply to the GMC. That catches people out.
Okay, crucial details. So
Yeah.
you've got your GMC registration sorted, your English test passed. Next up, the visa.
Yes, getting yourself physically to the UK. The main route for doctors is the skilled worker visa, specifically the health and care worker visa subcategory.
And you mentioned this one has specific advantages.
It really does. It generally means a faster application process, which is great. The visa
Yeah.
fees are lower. And a really big one, you're exempt from the immigration health surcharge, the IHS.
Which can save a lot of money over several years, right?
A significant amount, yes. Plus, it allows you to bring dependents, like your family, which is obviously very important for many people planning to settle.
So what do you need for that visa?
The essentials are a certificate of sponsorship, or COS, from your NHS employer, that full GMC registration we talked about. And eligible job doctors are SOC Cut 211, so that's covered, meeting the minimum salary for the role, proof of English language ability, which your GMC registration usually covers.
Okay.
Proof of maintenance funds, currently £1,270 you need to have held in your bank account, and potentially a TB certificate, depending on where you're applying from. Standard checks, mostly.
Right. Now, a really interesting point from the guide. UK clinical experience. Is it actually needed before you apply for EM jobs? Dr. Farouk suggests maybe not for the very first non-training job.
This is a really key strategic point. Technically, no, it's not mandatory for initial GMC registration or even landing your first trust doctor role. Your overseas experience is considered and valued.
But I sense a but coming.
But it is highly valued, especially for progression. It demonstrates you understand the NHS, its systems, its culture. It helps you adapt to UK practice, build that crucial network for references. It makes you much, much more competitive, particularly if you're aiming for those formal training posts later on.
So while you might get a job without it, getting the job you want or progressing is much harder.
Exactly. Many IMGs get frustrated applying for training posts without having had that initial NHS immersion. Dr. Farouk really highlights this. Getting some UK experience first is often the smartest move.
What kind of experience counts most?
Direct DD experience is obviously ideal, maybe as a trust doctor or clinical fellow, but experience in other acute areas is also really valuable. Acute medicine, ICU, anesthetics, pediatric EM, even acute surgery or orthopedics.
And how do you get that experience?
The most common routes are securing those non-training posts we mentioned, trust doctor, clinical fellow, staff grade, or maybe doing the MTI scheme, if that fits your situation.
It sounds like getting that initial foothold is key, and your first impression often comes down to your CV and cover letter. What's the golden rule for an NHS-style CV, according to Dr. Farouk?
The absolute #1 rule, tailoring. Every single application needs a CV and cover letter written specifically for that job, that hospital, that department. No generic applications, ever.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It is, but it's essential. Your CV should usually be 2-3 pages, reverse chronological order. Make sure your GMC status and visa status are prominent. Include a concise personal profile, maybe 3 to 5 lines, highly tailored to the job description. Use action verbs in your employment history. Highlight EM-relevant skills, resuscitation, trauma, communication, audits you've done.
Then the cover letter.
1 page. Address it to the specific hiring manager, if you can find the name, or Dear Hiring Manager. Clearly state the job title and where you saw it advertised. Then dedicate paragraphs to showing how your experience matches their needs. Mention transferable skills like teamwork and leadership, show you understand something about the NHS, and crucially, express genuine motivation for that specific role at that specific hospital. Why them?
So really doing your homework on the place you're applying to.
Absolutely. Generic applications just don't cut it in the NHS context.
Okay, foundation laid, GMC, English, visa, the value of UK experience, and making that first impression. Let's move into part 2, the actual emergency medicine journey. Once you're in, what are those common entry-level jobs for IMGs?
Right, so you've landed. Your first steps in a UK ED will most likely be in what we call non-training posts. These are primarily for service provision, staffing the department, but they offer that crucial UK experience.
Like the trust doctor roles you mentioned.
Exactly. Trust doctor or clinical fellow are very common titles. The level might be pitched as equivalent to, say, a foundation year 3 doctor or maybe core trainee level CT123, or even junior specialty trainee ST123 level. These are excellent for building your portfolio, getting references, maybe working towards exams like MRCEM before you think about formal training applications or even the CESR route.
Are there other non-training roles?
Yes, you might see locum appointment for service or LAS posts, often similar to trust doctor roles, but maybe for shorter fixed terms. And for more experienced IMGs, there are specialty doctor or associate specialist posts, often called SAS doctors.
Fast doctors.
Yes, these are permanent staff grade roles. They carry significant clinical responsibility. Many IMGs who perhaps completed specialist training overseas find really fulfilling long-term careers as SAS doctors. It's a distinct path from the traditional consultant training route, often with more focus on clinical work and less on the management side.
So options exist whether you see it as a stepping stone or a destination. Where do people actually find these jobs advertised?
Mhm. The number one place is the official NHS jobs website, jobs.nhs.uk. That's the main portal. It's also worth checking individual NHS trust websites directly, as sometimes posts go up there first. Reputable medical recruitment agencies can be helpful too, especially those on official NHS frameworks. And the Royal College of Emergency Medicine, RCEM, sometimes lists vacancies on their site.
Okay, so NHS jobs is the key starting point. Now, you've mentioned training and non-training posts a few times. What's the fundamental difference? Dr. Farook must clarify this in the guide.
He does, and it's absolutely critical to understand. A training post is part of a nationally approved, structured program. Think ST1 to ST8 in emergency medicine. It leads to a certificate of completion of training, a CCT, and ultimately qualifies you to be a consultant. These posts guarantee rotations through different relevant specialties, offer protected teaching time, regular assessments, and structured progression. Entry is highly competitive, usually via a national recruitment system called Oriel.
Right, that's the formal pathway to becoming a specialist.
Exactly. A non-training post, on the other hand, is primarily a service job. Its main purpose is to help staff the hospital. While you absolutely gain valuable experience, there isn't the same guaranteed structured training, protected time, or automatic progression towards a CCT.
But the experience can still count for something.
Yes, definitely. The experience you gain in a non-training post is invaluable for your CV, for learning the system, and it can be used as evidence if you later decide to pursue the CESR route to get onto the specialist register, proving your combined experience and qualifications are equivalent to a CCT.
So for most IMGs starting out, what's the usual advice? Aim straight for training posts.
The most pragmatic advice, and what Dr. Farouk generally recommends, is to aim for a non-training post first. Get your feet under the table in the NHS. Gain that essential UK experience, get UK references, build your portfolio, perhaps pass parts of the MRCM exam. Then, once you're more established and familiar with the system, you can make a much stronger application for the highly competitive formal training posts, if that's your goal.
That makes a lot of sense, like an acclimatization period.
Precisely. Think of it as your NHS apprenticeship.
And you mentioned the MRCEM exam. That brings us to the gates of specialization. The MRCEM and FRCEM exams. Membership and Fellowship of the Royal College of Emergency Medicine. Dr. Farouk did MRCEM in 6 months.
What's the realistic timeline for most people?
Yeah, 6 months is exceptional, truly remarkable. A more realistic average time frame for an IMG juggling work and study is probably somewhere between 1.5 to 3 years to get through all parts of MRCEM. That allows time for preparation, gaining the necessary clinical experience between parts, and potentially resitting an exam if needed.
A marathon, not a sprint then.
Definitely. Resilience is key. These exams test not just knowledge, but your ability to apply it under pressure. There's the MRCEM primary, which is basic sciences, usually taken online via Pearson VUE centers globally. Then the MRCEM intermediate SBA, testing clinical knowledge, also online.
Then the MRCEM OSCE, that's the Practical Objective Structured Clinical Examination. This requires you to have passed the first 2 parts, have GMC registration, and have at least 24 months experience after your initial internship year, including at least 6 months in EM. This is face-to-face, held in the UK and some international centers like Kuala Lumpur or cities in India.
And the FRCEM,
Yeah.
the next level up.
Yes, fellowship. That comes after MRCEM. It involves another complex SBA paper focusing on advanced clinical scenarios, and then a final FRCEM OSCE, testing advanced clinical skills, leadership, management, really assessing your readiness to function at a senior level. The prerequisites for FRCEM involve holding MRCM and having significant EM training or experience.
And these exams aren't cheap. presumably.
No, they represent a significant financial investment. Fees vary depending on whether you're an RCEM member and where you sit the exam, but you're looking at several £100s for each written component and potentially £500 to over £800 for the OSCEs. It requires careful budgeting alongside the studying.
A major commitment all around. So putting it all together, what does that full pathway from starting out to becoming an EM consultant look like for an IMG?
Well, for a UK graduate, it's typically foundation years 1 and 2, then core training, often ACCS EM covering acute medicine, EM, anesthetics, ICU, pediatric EM for 3 years, then higher specialty training in EM for another 3-4 years, leading to CCT and consultant status. Around 8-10 years post-medical school.
And for an IMG?
For an IMG, the path kind of merges with this after you get GMC registration and usually that initial UK experience in a non-training post. You then apply competitively for a formal training post, often entering at ST1, CT1, or sometimes ST3, ST4, depending on your prior equivalent experience and exam status.
Right.
So you follow a similar trajectory, but starting potentially a bit later after navigating the initial entry steps.
And the consultant role itself, what does that involve?
That's the pinnacle in the UK system. Consultants hold ultimate clinical responsibility. They lead major trauma calls, resuscitations, make complex diagnostic and management decisions, supervise junior doctors and other staff, contribute to departmental management, strategy, teaching, research. It's a demanding but rewarding leadership role.
Are there opportunities to subspecialize within EM?
Yes, definitely. During your higher specialty training, ST4, ST6, you can formally train and get a CCT with a subspecialty endorsement in pediatric emergency medicine, PEM, or pre-hospital emergency medicine, PHEM. Beyond formal subspecialties, many consultants develop special interests, things like emergency ultrasound, toxicology, major trauma, medical education, quality improvement, leadership, or academic EM, often through fellowships or focused experience.
How does extensive overseas EM experience count towards this? Can it shorten the UK training time?
Generally, no, not directly for the CCT pathway. Your overseas experience is absolutely vital for getting GMC registration and securing appropriately graded non-training jobs. But the UK CCT training program has specific curriculum requirements and assessments that usually need to be completed within the UK system.
So you can't usually just skip years of UK training.
Not typically. The main route for getting overseas specialist training formally recognized is the CESR pathway we mentioned earlier. That's where you compile a huge portfolio of evidence demonstrating your knowledge, skills, and experience are equivalent to someone who completed the full UK CCT program. It's a rigorous process, often taking years to compile the evidence, but it leads directly to specialist registration without repeating formal UK training years.
Right, so CESR is the key for experienced specialists seeking equivalence. Okay, let's shift gears slightly in part 3. Beyond the clinical pathway, how do you actually thrive in the UK? Let's talk work-life balance in UK emergency medicine. You said earlier it can be humane. What's the reality?
It's a mixed bag, honestly. EM is inherently demanding. It's 247, so shifts inevitably include nights, weekends, bank holidays. That can lead to fatigue, it can disrupt social life, finding childcare can be tricky. Add in the pressures of high patient volumes, sometimes understaffing, the unpredictable nature of the work. It's challenging.
Doesn't sound too humane so far.
No, but here's the upside. Unlike specialties with constant on-call responsibilities bleeding into your off time, EM often works in distinct shift blocks. When your shift is over, handover happens, and generally your direct patient responsibility ends. This can allow for proper blocks of time off, dedicated periods for rest, hobbies, family, travel.
So it's intense when you're on, but clearer boundaries when you're off.
Potentially, yes. And the teamwork aspect in EDs is often very strong, which can be incredibly supportive. Consultants might also have more flexibility in rota design or options for working less than full-time, LTFT, but achieving that balance requires conscious effort.
What kind of advice does Dr. Farook give for managing it?
Prioritize sleep, that's huge. Develop effective handover techniques so you can truly switch off. Use your days off proactively for recovery and things you enjoy. Maintain hobbies outside medicine. Look after your physical and mental health. And crucially, don't be afraid to seek support from colleagues, mentors, or formal well-being services offered by the trust. Learning to say no to excessive extra shifts when you're tired is also vital, especially for IMGs who might feel pressure to always say yes.
Protecting your own well-being is key. Now, moving outside the hospital, let's talk finances. What's often the most confusing or frustrating bit about managing household bills and building credit for someone newly arrived in the UK?
Oh, definitely. The proof of address loop often catches people. You need bills or a bank account to prove your address, but you often need proof of address to open a bank account or set up bills.
The classic catch-22.
Exactly. Dr. Farook's guide likely gives tips on using your NHS employment contract letter addressed to your UK accommodation or your tenancy agreement as initial proof to break that cycle. Once you have a bank account, things get easier. You'll need to manage rent, council tax, that's the local government tax, maybe a TV license if you watch live TV or a BBC iPlayer, broadband, mobile phone, plus utilities like gas, electricity, water. Setting up direct debits is usually the easiest way to pay.
And building credits. You start from zero, right?
You do. You have no UK credit history, so you start small. Open that UK bank account, get registered on the electoral roll if you're eligible, pay all your bills on time, preferably by direct debit, get a mobile phone contract in your name, and then carefully consider a credit builder credit card. Use it for small, regular purchases you'd make anyway, and crucially, pay off the entire balance every single month. Never carry debt on it. It takes patience, but consistent, responsible financial behavior builds your score over time.
Good advice. Okay, let's talk about adapting to the actual ED culture and communication style in the UK. What are some common surprises or potential missteps for IMGs?
The pace can be intense. It's a very dynamic, multidisciplinary environment. Communication is often quite direct, pragmatic, perhaps less hierarchical than in some other cultures. Teamwork is absolutely paramount. Patient-centered care is the focus, but there are often efficiency targets like the 4-hour wait time target, which influences workflow.
What are the challenges within that culture?
Overcrowding is a frequent reality. Sadly, dealing with occasional public frustration or abuse can happen. Managing shift work fatigue is constant. Resilience and adaptability are really key traits.
How can IMGs adapt effectively?
Observe. Watch how the team interacts, how decisions are made, how handovers happen. Ask questions. People generally appreciate you wanting to understand the local protocols. Be proactive, offer help, seek feedback on your performance and communication. Definitely attend your trust induction and any mandatory training, and see if there's an IMG mentorship or buddy scheme that can be invaluable.
And communication specifically, with patients and colleagues.
With patients, be patient-centered. Listen actively, show empathy, use clear, plain English, avoid jargon. Always check understanding, asking, just so I'm sure I've explained that clearly, can you tell me in your own words what the plan is really helpful. Manage expectations realistically. And crucially, use professional interpreter services whenever there's a language barrier. Don't rely on family members.
And with colleagues.
Be clear, concise, and structured, especially in handovers. The SBAR situation background assessment recommendation format is widely used and expected. Maintain professionalism and respect across all disciplines, nurses, physios, admin staff, everyone. Know when and how to escalate concerns. Asking for senior help is seen as safe practice, a strength, not a weakness. Be open to constructive feedback.
It sounds like a lot to navigate, potentially quite isolating at first.
Yeah.
But the guide mentions support systems are available. You're not alone in this.
Absolutely not. And this is so important. The NHS and individual trusts are increasingly aware of the support IMGs need. Many trusts have dedicated IMG welcome programs, specific IMG leads or tutors, mentor buddy schemes, pastoral support, and access to confidential well-being services like counseling or occupational health.
What about support beyond the local hospital?
The Royal Colleges, like RCEM, offer guidance specifically for IMGs. The British Medical Association, BMA, provides crucial advice on contracts and employment issues. The GMC runs free Welcome to UK practice workshops, which are highly recommended. They cover ethics, professional standards, communication in the NHS context. And there are many online resources. NHS Employers has a great international recruitment section, plus numerous online forums and social media groups where IMGs support each other.
So the resources are there.
They are. The key, as Dr. Farook would likely stress, is being proactive. Seek out these resources, engage fully with your induction, build relationships with colleagues and mentors, and please never be afraid to ask for help when you need it. It's essential for settling in and succeeding.
Really important message. Okay, finally, let's touch on the long game for many. UK citizenship and getting a British passport. What's the typical path?
It's definitely a long-term commitment, usually taking 6, 7, maybe up to 10 years or even more, depending on the specific visa routes and circumstances. It's a multi-step process.
What are the steps?
Generally, you start on your long-term work visa, like the skilled worker visa. After typically 5 years of continuous lawful residence in the UK on qualifying visas, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain or ILR. That's essentially permanent residency.
5 years continuous. What does that mean?
It means living here lawfully for 5 years, and there are limits on how much time you can spend outside the UK during that period. Currently, no more than 180 days in any 12-month rolling period. You also need to pass the Life in the UK test and meet English language requirements again for ILR.
Okay, so ILR after 5 years, then citizenship.
Yes. Usually, you have to wait at least 12 months after getting ILR before you can apply for British citizenship by naturalization. Though this waiting period can be shorter, like immediately after ILR if you're married to a British citizen. The citizenship application involves meeting strict residency requirements again, including limits on absences in the years preceding application, demonstrating good character, and passing the Life in the UK test and English requirements again.
So ILR first, then wait a year, then apply for citizenship.
That's the usual path for those on work visas. Once your citizenship application is approved and you attend a citizenship ceremony, you are officially a British citizen. Only then can you apply for your first British passport.
It sounds like meticulous record keeping is crucial.
Absolutely essential. Keep records of all your visas, employment, dates of entry and exit from the UK. And always, always check the official gov.uk website for the most current rules and requirements, as immigration law changes frequently.
Wow. We have covered a huge amount of ground today. For the very first step of GMC registration and visas, right through navigating the EM training pathways, the exams, sorting out finances, adapting to the culture, and even looking ahead to citizenship.
It really is a comprehensive journey, and Dr. Farook's guide seems to cover all those practical angles, drawing on his own quite remarkable experience.
It's clear he not only navigated this path successfully and incredibly quickly, but is now passionate about helping others do the same, sharing that hard-won wisdom.
And his vision extends beyond the UK. You mentioned his mission in Bangladesh to really embed emergency medicine as a core specialty within their healthcare system. He sees it as a potential revolution in patient care there.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, our listener. Having absorbed this deep dive, having heard about the pathways, the challenges, the strategies, what is your revolution? How will you take this knowledge, this roadmap, and use it not just to build a successful career in UKEM, but perhaps to make your own unique, lasting impact, whether that's in the UK, back home, or wherever your journey ultimately takes you?
The path is laid out, the insights are there. Your journey starts now.